Let us get into the sketch. Hello, it's Rhea. Wherever you are and whatever time it is, I hope you are enjoying yourself. Just to recap, this is a follow-up from last video where I am sketching the very last illustration from the one marker challenge. If you want to jump straight into the coloring part, go ahead and skip 5 minutes in-ish. And if you want something a little bit more real-time and chatty, then you can stay tuned for the next 5 minutes of me having my silly comments while figuring out what to sketch. So yeah. Well, y'all forgive me if I don't draw like actual hands this time because it's not looking too good. So I was thinking of drawing one of my OCs who actually has like sort of a light blue color palette. Okay, it's been so long since I've drawn her, I don't even know like where to go with this. She's very cute, it's just she's more of an aesthetic OC, so I don't really have a story or anything for her. But she's very similar to kind of like my overall branding of like clouds and like being up in the stratosphere in another otherworldly place, you know? Basically, she has these really large space buns that kind of look like clouds. I know, what an iconic character design. I'm sure nobody's ever thought of that before. Sometimes I do think about that. Like, I think about my OCs and I'm like, I know someone's gotta have like created a character that looks very similar to this or like something. But at the same time, I don't think that's a reason for me to hold back on creating characters that I also initially thought and they happen to be similar. Question is, what do I want her to be in? Like, what kind of clothes? What are we feeling? What are we feeling for the outfit? Should I look up inspiration? Oddly enough, I kind of draw her in an outfit that I have, or an outfit that I also draw, like, my character in. Or really just whenever I have to draw myself, that's kind of like my go-to. Oh, I was thinking earlier, what if I gave her like these cute little, like, what is it called? Like the sweater paws? Where it's like her sleeves are just so large that they cover her hand completely. I feel like I keep doing pleated skirts, but I don't know what else to do. It's just so cute. Plus it gives me the opportunity to do that cute little wavy skirt thing. I just had an idea. Oh my gosh, what if she was wearing like this little backpack? I don't know why I'm trying to do so much for this drawing because it's not supposed to be like anything really. Like if I'm gonna color this with only one color, I need this to be like cute and simple. Not sure why I'm trying to do the most, but alas. And as much as I want to resist for once and not give thigh highs, it is indeed my branding, so she will have thigh highs. This actually makes me want to redesign my own persona. Something that's kind of like hilarious is that even though clouds are like more or less my branding, I still don't really know how to draw them comfortably. Like, there's just so many ways that you can approach drawing clouds. And it really just depends on how stylized you might want them to look. I don't know. And then I top it off by adding some cute little stars. How long am I gonna go pretending like I understand clothing folds? That's the real question. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that at all, but it's fine because it's just a little thing that we have going here. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is what we have so far for the sketch. The reason why I'm doing these sketches first, without just doing line art too, I don't know, I'm thinking I should try it without the line art first to see what it looks like, and then maybe use line art as like the final touch, maybe? I'm also wondering if I should use line art the same color as the marker, or if I should just use a black line art. I don't know, we'll see. And I'm thinking this time, since I didn't do it on the other two, I'm gonna try using the colorless blender on this one. I'm gonna go ahead and do a swatch test real quick, just to see what I'm working with. And yeah, you can see me doing the swatches here, or just kind of testing out all the different ranges I can kind of get with this marker and the colorless blender, since I'll be using that in attune to this. So not entirely the one marker challenge or whatever, but a one color challenge nonetheless. And yeah, so I get started on coloring it, and this isn't 100% real time. It's actually like, instead of it being 100%, it is 200% speed. And the main reason why I did that is because the initial cuts that I made in the overall footage, it was still too long, and I feel like that's always going to be the case with me, because I mean, I feel like I've said this before, but I just don't really draw super fast or color super fast, especially if I'm like in the zone or things like that, or really trying to take my time with it. I can't fully remember what kind of headspace I was in whenever I was drawing this, but I'm pretty sure I was really starting to enjoy it as time went on. But I feel like more or less because of the speed, like it really feels like just a tiny bit sped up from the real time, which I mean, I guess that's what it is more or less. But yeah, so you see me go in with just the blue, and I pretty much am starting to test out the colorless blender at this point after I use like the main blue on the sweater. I already said before, but if you skipped this, I'm drawing one of my OCs. Her name is Celeste. I haven't really drawn her in a while though, and she has a really like cute design, but it's very basic, and she's more of an aesthetic character overall, but I think it'd be pretty cool if I drew her more and kind of got down her design into like a comfortable spot so I can draw her a little bit more. But yeah, and then now for more of the process stuff, I'm just going in with like, the whole way that I work with a colorless blender is pretty straightforward. I try my best to put down the colorless blender first before putting down the marker. That way it kind of like already spreads it out, kind of like the way you would use water in comparison to like the pigment of watercolor. So you place the water down first, like a wash down, and then you put the pigment over it. And that's just one way that I've used it. Another way is similar to, actually it's pretty much the exact same as what I did in the copic marker video whenever I did that illustration of my other OC. I basically take the marker that has color on it and I rub it against, like I rub the pigment off on the tip of the colorless blender, and I kind of just like play with the different variations of like a more faded version of that pigment. I really hope that this makes sense. The thing is whenever I explain this kind of stuff, in my head it makes sense. Like with my words and everything, I'm like, okay, yeah, I get what I'm saying, but I don't know if it comes off as like comprehensible to you guys as like viewers or listeners. So yeah, let me know if you ever need me to like explain it a little bit more in depth. I can always reply to any comments or questions you guys have as well. But for the most part, yeah, those are like the two main ways that I use the colorless blender. I guess the last way would be like after I've already placed the pigment down, sometimes I will try to go back and like I'll go over whatever pigment I have placed down with the colorless blender to try to like lift the color or things like that. Actually, another way too is, well, I mean, this is kind of just like using a marker in general, but you can see me on the skirt now, I'm kind of like layering. The cool thing is, so it's like I rub the pigment of the colorful marker on the colorless blender, and then I color with a colorless blender that now has that pigment on it, just a more faded version of it, and then I just continue putting the marker down, like coloring with the colorless blender, and it'll naturally fade out anyways because it'll go back to its original colorless pigment. I know it sounds silly, and I know, like, again, this does kind of like break the whole idea of like a one marker challenge because I am using another marker, but again, I feel like it's just easier to think of it as like a one color challenge because it more or less is the same thing. It's just, you know, a more clever fun way of doing it. I mean, in general, these kind of feel like little art exercises, so I always have fun with them. and I just didn't feel a need to like hold back from using this because I did figure out like whenever I initially did the one marker challenge, I was like it would be kind of cool to like see how an illustration would look with just one color. It kind of reminds me of the using all my art supplies, which I actually would love to do again, maybe sometime in the near future. I will see. I've only done one video on that. It was about like maybe 2 or so years ago, and I was using all my red art supplies, and I'm wondering if I should go from there and maybe go to like pink or just go completely 180 and go for blue. I think so far like I'm pretty excited of taking on that challenge because it can easily lead to illustrations. That's pretty much what happened with the very first one that I did and the only one that I did, but after like drawing with all my red supplies, I ended up mocking it up in, actually no, first I mocked it up digitally and then I kind of did the rest of it traditionally, and then I was like this would be really cool as like an actual illustration. And so then I went back to my mock-up digitally and I finished it off and turned it into an entire illustration, and I freaking loved it. I thought like out of all the things that I've drawn in the past like year, actually no, in the past like 3 to 4 years, I feel like a lot of the things that I've drawn don't really feel like me at my prime. Like if I want to show someone like my art, which I hardly ever do because I'm very shy and critical of my own work, when I want to show someone something that I feel like represents like me as an artist and like my vision and my style, I feel like that red piece is probably one of them that I think of the most, because I just feel like it's so, it's not like it's like the most profound thing ever, but I think it's really cool at the same time, and it just feels very me, like a character, and there's like these fun graphic elements and like these little ghosties. I don't know. Hopefully I've put it on the screen by now, but yeah, that's just one of the illustrations that I feel like I want to capture that kind of energy in my future artwork as well. And it's just interesting how these little challenges can really lead to something like that. I never would have thought of that, but I just think it's really cool, and yeah, hopefully I can channel that moving forward. But I've totally not really talked so much about this. I mean, I already explained like kind of what's going on, so it's kind of just like a watch and find out. I think the blue is an absolutely lovely shade. I enjoy it a lot, and even though I keep drawing like this cloud sweater and like I was not kidding whenever I said like it's very common for me to draw this outfit either on my persona, on me, or any character that I associate with like the sky or something. It's just like a little cloudy sweater and like a pleated skirt that's white. I don't know, I just think that's everything. I do literally have that outfit kind of more or less, but I don't have that cloud backpack. That would be so cute, oh my gosh. And I was just really having fun with all the different values that I could get with the marker. I was also kind of worried because I wanted to show that Celeste, her skin is like tan, like it's definitely like not pale. So I was trying to figure out how I could, you know, show that there's some kind of depth there without like just making her go full on Smurf. I felt the same way with like her hair too, because her hair is actually white, so I was trying to figure out how to play with the shading without it again seeming like too strong in the colors or things like that, in the contrast. But then again, like this, it really teaches you all about values. And then going into the background, I think maybe like the beginning part of it got cut off whenever I was filming, but I start using the chisel tip because I think I've said this before, where it's like if I'm coloring a wider area and I kind of just want it to feel like a flat wash, I try to use a chisel tip. However, it was kind of difficult because as you can see there's like little stars that I'm trying to go around, and I didn't want to like color them in. Realistically, like if you can find like white ink anywhere, I have a ton of like either white ink, white colored pencils, white paint markers, you know, you can always just like color those back in, so it's really not a huge deal. But because of that, I was kind of like not able to get as smooth of a background as I wanted. I don't know how like possible it is to like, I guess you have to go pretty quickly to get that nice flat looking wash with markers, because there's usually a natural streakiness in them, I want to say, but that might just be like depending on how much you layer, the paper, etc, etc. So yeah, but overall, like I said, I was just having a great time. I'm almost tempted to like redraw this digitally so I can clean it up a little bit, because there's some things that I feel like I could have executed a little bit better, as I always end up feeling that way. But oh yeah, and also whenever I did place down the background, like whenever I did color it, you probably just saw me color it in with the colorless blender first and then go over it with the marker, because I wanted to try to see if I can get a lighter background. I really enjoy how the gradient looks in the skirt, like just kind of like that pretty fade. It just feels very like flowy and magical. It feels very ethereal. Yeah, it's not like I was trying to put in my all in this illustration. In fact, I was kind of like, why am I so invested in this? This is supposed to just be like a little warm-up, like a exercise type fun art challenge thing. I don't need to go crazy on this. But at the same time, I think it was just me realizing how much I kind of miss the idea of putting together an illustration. If you don't know me too well, I don't do a ton of illustrations, even though I feel like I really want to. They just always intimidate me because I feel like it always has to be this grand thing. Like it's each time you create a drawing, it's like that has to be your magnum opus, and that's definitely not the case. But yeah, and it's moments like this that kind of help me like remember like, hey, you know, you can just do like a little drawing of a character and a background, and thus it feels like an illustration, but it's not like you spent 30 years on it or anything. It was just a fun little time that you sat down for and you just kind of like went for it. And that doesn't mean that you have to like take it completely unserious either. Like I was still making sure that I did swatches before you know, really rolling the whole thing out, and doing those little steps just make it easier and more natural for me the next time I go to do an illustration, so that way I don't forget, because it's kind of easy to, you know, you just start like jumping into a drawing and you're like, okay, and then you're like, wait. I feel like with traditional art too, I'm even more wary because as you know, it's really easy for you to like mess up something and make it unsalvageable, especially depending on the medium that you're using. So with markers, you know, if you like spill a much darker marker on a lighter area, it's kind of like, oh yikes, not really able to come back from that, am I? Without you, you know, modifying things very drastically. So just little simple things like color swatches or like little thumbnail drawings, and sometimes even like thumbnail colorings as well, just to make sure that you know, your colors that you currently have work the way that you want, and you're kind of on track for it coming out the way that you intend it to. And yeah, I'm just still going through on a little background here. And I actually, for the clouds, I was wondering if I should keep them sort of just like unshaded, so that way they're like these little almost flat 2D-esque features. But I was kind of like, I think it'd be nice to add a little bit of shading to the clouds. So I got to play again with like that very, very light pastel blue and just kind of see how it works as the shading for the clouds on the outskirts. And I feel like that just really brought together that dreamy look that I love. And yeah, just I feel like it really all kind of came together more and more. We have a little intermission coming up of me figuring out like me trying to troubleshoot how I want to do the lining for this, and it's pretty much like, I didn't talk about it in the other video because I was rambling about so many other things, but I think what I have to say about it is actually kind of important for this whole challenge. So yeah, you're gonna see me sort of like troubleshoot or just figure out how I want to go about wrapping up the entire illustration. Okay, so this is where we're at right now. I feel like I'm actually really pleased with how this came out. I just like that I was able to get a good amount of values just with one color, and I think that's really cool. I'm really glad that I decided to go ahead and do this challenge. To bring this all together and outline it and stuff, I'm thinking I might not use pen or like a fine liner. I was thinking of maybe using colored pencil. I could use the palette color, you know, that I used to set this up, like do the sketches. Or I was thinking of maybe trying out one of my holbein colors. I also have a Prismacolor that's also kind of similar. I'm trying to figure out if I want the color to be a different blue or not, because I feel like this one's pretty spot on, and I don't know how much that might derive from the original intent. I don't know, we'll see. And this is why we do swatches. So I don't know how well this shows up for you guys, but for me, these two are very close, but this one's just a little bit more of a blue hue, where this one's a little bit more warm. So yeah, I don't know, I guess I'll figure it out. So I went with this one, which is the one that's a little bit more blue. And by blue I mean like a cooler tone instead of like the pilot color Eno. I did wish that like the benefit of having a pilot color Eno and using it is I just love the sharpness of mechanical pencil, or like the fact that a mechanical pencil is always going to be like that stickly sharp, if that makes sense, as opposed to like a colored pencil, which you will definitely have to keep sharpening in order to make it work. So there's almost like a sense of inconsistency that you might get with the colored pencil, but either way, I mean, it's not like a huge deal. I will say, while I like look at me trying to like outline this and go over her hair, I'm like, what is going on? Like, I need to map that out better, because I don't know, I mean, it's cute on the fluffiness, but I don't know how much all of it is making sense. But it does look like clouds. Like I said, I would love to redraw her again, and I feel like the left part of her bangs are like, they're like, that weird skinniness to it compared to the right side is like throwing me off. I think I go in and fix it whenever I go in with like the white marker, because I do remember trying to do the same thing to like her face shape. I feel like for characters that are like cuter, because her character is, I want to say, pretty like cute and like aloof. She's kind of usually sleepy, is just like there being adorable. I usually go for like a cuter face shape, and I feel like the way that I drew her in the illustration, her face could have been shaped a little bit more. On terms of like me critiquing myself, there's definitely a lot of things that I could point out that I could have done better, like just again to roast myself on not understanding the folds of clothing. I'm not sure why I haven't studied that more. I do like fashion studies, but I apparently don't do them enough to understand the clothing folds. It's like a hit or miss for me. And the hands could be better. I don't mind the sweater paw idea. I think sweater paws are cute. But I don't know, I'm just roasting myself for no reason, I guess. I don't know, I like to give myself a little bit of like, you know, good job on this, let's work on this kind of thing. But I will say that I think the colored pencil was definitely a good choice for the outlining as opposed to a fine liner. I feel like the fine liner would have been a little bit too bold and jarring, whereas like the colored pencil sort of makes you focus on just the softness of the whole piece. It almost feels a little bit childlike. And then on the sleeve, I'm pretty much just writing the kanji for cloud on her shoulder, using the white pen as well. Like if it needed any sense of contrast, instead of using like a bold blue line art, I feel like the white ink pen really made a difference in just adding more features that kind of like pop without it popping too much, if that makes sense. But yeah, and I pretty much just go throughout adding the little sparkles here and there, and I write our name at the top, but that is pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed seeing me work on this one color, one marker challenge. If you haven't seen the other two that I did, sort of like as warm-ups, please feel free to go watch that video as well. It's kind of in tangent with this one. And in relevance to that video, we will finally see all 3 drawings completed. I think they all turned out nice. Let me know if you have a favorite, but I hope to do more of these challenges in the future, so let me know if there's any of those that you'd be interested in me doing. I'm probably gonna just go for the 2 marker challenge since that's logically next in line. But I also want to get back to digital art as well, so we'll see. But that is all for me today, so thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed your time here today, please feel free to leave a like. If you're interested to see more of my content, you can always check out my other videos and subscribe. For reference, if you're new, I am Rhea, or Etheria, and I like making art and art-related content on my channel. I do try to post weekly videos, but if you'd like more timely updates, you can always check out my other social media linked in the description and also at the end of the video. If you follow me on Insta or Twitter or Threads, you've probably already seen the other 2 drawings by then. But until next time, once again, Thank you guys so much for watching, and I wish you a nice rest of your day and week. Take care.